The following workflow covers basic volume calculation using icon build software. The first step before calculating the volume of a stockpile is to create a job. You can do this by selecting jobs from the data menu. Select the green plus at bottom left of screen. Enter a name for your job. And enter a description if you wish. Select data on the left here. We're not using a code list for this tutorial. I'm going to select the green tick at the bottom right of screen. For the purposes of this tutorial, I've already set up the instrument, which is an Icon Robot 50. This total station is paired with a CC66 controller, and the Icon build software I'm running is version 2.1. The second step when calculating a volume is to measure some points. Select the measure application. My robot is currently connected and my guide lights are currently switched on. I'm going to be using a prism on top of a pole for this survey. I'm just going to select prism type here, which is already correct. It's an MPR 122, and you can see the pole height set to 2 meters, which is also correct. So I'm going to get my total station to search for me. You can see prism found at the top right of screen. The total station is now following me. When I'm doing stockpile pickups, I configure my instrument so that it's locked onto me, and the measure mode that I use is continuous with lock. This will continually shoot to the prism, but it'll only record the observation when I choose to. So I'm going to press start to begin shooting towards my prism. Okay, common procedure is to pick up the base of the stockpile first. Then I'll pick up the top of bank of the pile, which I'll string as a line, followed by a few spot heights across the top. If I select start line here, my points that I pick up around the base of the pile will be strung together. As you can see, it continued to string these points in a line. I've now surveyed around the base of the pile. The next step is to survey the top of the bank. I'm going to stop line here. I'm now going to select start line again and select store. I'm now tracing around the top bank of the pile. Now I've stopped that line again, and I'm finally going to just store a few spot heights across the crest of the pile. Okay, we've now collected all the data that we need for this stockpile. Just going to have a quick look at it. This isn't a very big stockpile, it's just some topsoil. But you can see here that there's the base of the pile picked up. There's a few marks around the top of the pile, and there's a few spot heights. Now that we've collected all the information, I'm just going to select the home screen. Now that we have collected our data, we need to create a surface from which we can calculate our volume. We do so by opening up the volumes application. So here we can see the base of my stockpile coming around. What we want to do is create a boundary around this base. So we'll select the red toolbox at the bottom left and select new surface. It immediately goes into the boundary mode. I'm going to select start boundary at the bottom right. I'm just going to select the points around the base. You want to close your boundary off, so I'm just going to go from point 11, which is the last point here, we'll just zoom in, back to point 1. I'm going to select stop boundary now. The next step is I'm going to create a break line along the top of bank here. This break line is going to cause the model to not create any triangles that go between my spot heights on top and the base. The spot heights will have to connect to the top of bank, and then the top of bank will connect with the base of the pile. So I'll select the red toolbox again, and now I'm going to select create break lines. I'll select start break lines at the bottom right. Okay, so I've closed that break line off. I'm just going to select stop break lines. Break line is now completed. You notice every time that I click on a point it gets a tick. Only points with ticks on them are going to be included in our volume calculation. So I'm just going to go through. I haven't got any start break lines or anything selected right now. I'm just going to select each of these spot heights. Okay, so all of my points are now included. I'm just going to create this surface now. Okay, so I'm going to select end surface. I'm going to be prompted for a name for this surface. And you can see here where these surfaces are going to be stored. My model has now been formed. I'll just zoom in a little bit here. You can see that all the points have been included, as they all have triangles leading to them. We can also see that the triangles have created correctly, that they go between the base of the pile and the top. If we saw a triangle going between points 6, 7 and 8, this would be incorrect, as we would be creating a flat section there rather than calculating the volume up to the top. Similar to points and lines, surfaces can be switched off in the layer manager. So I'm just going to select that at the bottom right. You can see cube of topsoil model, and I can turn that on and off. I'm going to leave it on at this stage. Okay, so if I select the red toolbox at the bottom left, I can see the option now to calculate volume. The option that we're going to use today is stockpile. So the Icon software has now calculated the volume of the stockpile at 1.2 cubic meters. You can see here a few other details on the surface. I'm just going to open the next tab on the left, which is swell factor. Now I'm not going to be compacting my topsoil, so I'm not going to worry about swell factor. But if you were calculating a volume of some road base or asphalt, you might want to include a shrinkage factor in here. This would allow you to better represent the amount of fill that you have in the stockpile. Now being prompted to save the volume that we've just calculated. And you can see that that volume is going to also be stored. Now that I've calculated the volume, I'm just going to exit back out to the main menu by selecting the home screen. If I want to report on the volume that I just calculated, I can select reports from the data menu. I've got a volume template which I'm going to use today. We've only got one volume calculation here, so I'm just going to select the green tick at the bottom right. You can see some details on the report that we're about to generate. I'm just going to tick through that screen. Okay, so here's the final report. Calculated volume is listed here, which is probably the most critical factor. You can see the corrected volume here. This would be less if we'd included a swell factor. Just going to tick through that. So now that we've created a report, I'm just going to exit out of the Icon Build software. I'm going to go into My Documents. I'm going to open the Leica Geosystems folder and then the Icon folder. You can see there's a folder in the icon directory labelled reports. Open this folder. Here's the report that we've just generated, which we can now email or print off as required. This concludes the basic volume calculation tutorial.